Good morning. Good morning. I really hope these are the last day or last day or 2 days. Anyway, I should continue with the recordings of the videos for documentation purposes. Hopefully today I'll continue with as planned with the Game of Thrones series, documenting the political phenomenon of the transfer of pedophile individuals while they are very young, typically between countries and specifically to Israel. A phenomenon that greatly affected the state of Israel because it was like that probably since its inception. It's not new at all. And as I've mentioned in the past, in the case of Israel, this phenomenon is actually, to some extent, a natural, I would say, maybe we'll discuss this in the analysis because it's a complicated issue. But I mean, just to say that that Israel was a trash can for pedophiles and people of pervert sexual inclinations since before its inception, decades before its inception. So, and much of early Zionism was about it, as discussed in the many videos of the historical nature. So, in the Israeli case, this phenomenon was actually, part of I would say even a larger type of family of phenomenon that was related to transfer of sexual perverts individuals to Israel. Anyway, we will discuss it, and I'll speak about my high school days before we continue with some discussion of my regular service days, in the military, not in the courses, but just in the units. So the last 2 days, we had kind of a detour when I spoke about biology of the aliens and a little bit of the abuse using the psychological torture mechanism, Clockwork Orange style. And if there is a great demand, if it's of great interest to people, both the biology, video and the issue with psychology, if it was new, because these were discussed tremendously in the past in this channel, so I don't know how much of it is new. So if it is of importance, I can elaborate even more about it, or just find all videos and replay it if it will be of help. My guess is it should be interesting. Specifically for the Titans. Today and in the future, even not Titans that live in Earth, but other places, just to know how they are different from others, and mainly how they are not different from others, which is of course the important thing. To understand that they are not that different from others. So I can, elaborate on that as well. I'm not sure. I'll try to, read the comments to see, what's, your thought on this video, the Biology 101 video and the Blue Whale video. Because, again, it's like an old thing, in this channel, but, maybe you're not, there's always the issue of, what's exposed to the public and what's not. Not to what kind of public. There are a few points that I wanted to reiterate now in this short agenda video. They are not necessarily related points, but things that came to my mind, and all of it was discussed tremendously in the past. But again, important enough to reiterate. First of all, in the personal level, there is nothing that discussed me more than the phenomenon of the tax. This is on the personal level. I do not say that from the political level, which is more important. This is the worst phenomenon. But there is the political level, which is the most important one, the level of how humans behave in the societies. And there is the personal level, and of course they are related. But the personal level is I mean, it is comprised both of ethical, I mean, considerations that affect the political level, but also personal preferences. And I'm a person. I have my own, you know, preferences. You know, preferences, like, you know, preferences and preferences. I mean, inclinations, you know, and then like what I like more and what I like less. I mean, so I should say that from the personal level, there is nothing that disgusts me more than the phenomenon of taxidermies. And I understood that I'm surrounded by taxidermies as early as 2019, and this tremendously, I mean, contributed to the fact that I became a monk. Not just a monk that I do not have sex with women and don't want to have sex with women. I mean, no sex. But I mean, monk, just, I mean, that I'm secluded from society. And it wasn't something that, I mean, that characterizes me never, like, throughout my entire life, since childhood, I mean, until then, until the age of 35. And I mean, there was just a point of time when I understood I need to be a monk, like to be secluded from society as much as I can. Of course, I still raised my daughters for several years after that. I mean, in joint custody, and you know, I went to work, but I mean, yes, I mean, I cut my, you know, connection with friends and family, and every unnecessary connection, because I understood that I'm surrounded by taxidermies, and this is disgusting. And with time, you are very easily, you can, I mean, once you are aware of the phenomenon, you very easily, I mean, detected even without them opening their mouth, just, you know, by the, you know, the quivering mouths, you know, the gazeless look, you know, the unconsciousness, you know, appearance, I mean, the zombified, you know, walking style, the aura of, you know, of macabre theater that, I mean, you can find all around them. You know what I mean? I mean, you. So, I mean, so you just, I mean, you don't want any kind of contact with it. And of course, needless to say, I mean, even the idea of like having a romantic relationship of any kind with you, like a female zombie, I mean, this is repulsive. Even though I understood that in the past it happened more than once, but I mean, I didn't know. And I mean, now that I know, I mean, the idea that, I mean, you know, to be in bed with a zombie, I mean, this is repulsive beyond any kind of like, even explanation. So what do I mean when I say taxidermy? So there are several types of taxidermies, by the way. But I mean, the important thing is that the person that is an actor, that, I mean, he's an actor. I mean, he's an actor in real life. He acts. Like, I mean, he's not, he doesn't have, like, you know, it's like his job, like, you know, to put on a show. Now, there's a famous, like, you know, I don't know if saying it's attributed to Shakespeare. I don't know if it's even true that he said it. I mean, that העולם במה וכולנו שחקנים. So no, it's not true. העולם איננו במה וכולנו איננו שחקנים. This is hideous. This idea is hideous. No, we are not. And it's not true that we are all actors. This is the you know, decadent, you know, notion of people that, I mean, are of, no, lesser moral stand. No, we are not all actors, and the world is not just one big stage. Not at all. Now, what's true is that there are several kinds of actors, but they are all taxidermies from my perspective, and they are all repulsive. I mean, one kind of actor is just, I mean, you know, traditional, you know, like, you know, the traditional, I would say, kind of, you know, servant of like an intelligence service or any other kind of security service. Just, I mean, he acts like, I mean, you know, a person, I mean, you send him or her to some place, and he put on like a show that he's somebody, but he's actually something, like, in real life he's something else, but he's like putting on a temporary show. And the difference in this case between real life and the show is that, I mean, this person has a completely different identity and even completely different character in most of this time. So most of the time it's what we consider real life, and the temporary show is the show. So this is the classical way. I mean, no technology is involved at all. Just, I mean, you know, you tell the person pretend to be somebody, say this and that thing, and for like short amount of time, and then he gets back to his real life. This is one type. Another type is when this person is actually citing lines in real time, which means that he has another person, let's call this person the operator, that speaks from his mouth. Now even that can have several, kind of levels of like how, and this depends on, on how much brain is left on the cranium of the taxidermy. Usually in Israel it's 0%, like nothing. They just take everything, but not always. True that not always. Sometimes they are leave them. Sometimes doing the taxidermy process in Israel of the Shabak, the Mossad, they leave like something between 5 and 15% of the brain, and up to 15% of the brain in some cases is still left, and this is shown. But generally, obviously the mean, the average is 0%. The median value of how much is left is 0. But yeah, some cases it's more than that, up to 15%, and it's 50. If 50% of the brain is still there, then this is manifested in the behavior of the taxidermy. But the idea is that someone else is speaking from your mouth. Now, how is it implemented? So here we actually have several ways to implement it. But I should say that from my perspective, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how it's implemented, because in all the cases I consider the person that is in front of me a disgusting puppet, a zombie, a taxidermy, a person that I don't want to even be close to me or my children. I preferably not even in my radius of watching these things. They're like others from Game of Thrones, or walkers from The Walking Dead, things that should be kept outside my view. I do not necessarily say that they should all be eliminated, actively, eliminated using, kind of a hunt. But I do not necessarily say that. I do not necessarily say the opposite, that they should not, by the way. But this not near me or my children. Not even remotely. So all the types belong to this kind of zombified creatures that they're disgusting. Just if you want to kind of put an order, to do taxonomy of the taxidermies, taxonomy of these creatures. So I should say that there are several ways to speak from another person's mouth. Now the first way is just yes, human technology, which means that you place something like a concealed cochlear device in the ear of the person. And this is not that difficult. By the way, if the person already have a cochlear chip, so you don't even need to put anything there. It's already if he's presumably hearing impaired, so we have a cochlear chip already, or something something like that, a device in his ears, and they just the operator just tell him what to say, and he just say it. And the operator can get feedback, understand what's going on, because the cochlear chip can also be acted as a recording device and the communication device. But it's much simpler to do all of this using in our time. It's much simpler to implement most of this process through the smartphone. Even though these things, this is before smartphone started to become prominent during 2007. These technologies predates 2007 by many years. But in the past it was a little bit more difficult to implement. But today most of the things is done through the smartphone, which means that the smartphone records what's going on, and the operator they have a good understanding what's going on. Sometimes they even have cameras and other things that give them even more information. The problem is not how the operator can get the information of what's going on in the surrounding of the taxidermy. The problem is, the problem is how to transfer information between the operators to the taxidermy. This is much more difficult thing. So one way to solve it is just by the cochlear chips. And most people do not have cochlear device in their ear, and if they put one, it will be suspicious. So there are concealed cochlear chips that the people cannot see, but it's inside the ear or under the ear, and that's how. Just you receive almost every news anchor, news anchor like in television, like Geula Even in the past. I mean, I haven't seen news like in Israel like in at least 15 years because I don't watch television, broadcast television. Certainly not Israeli broadcast television. It's like it's all fascist crap, totalitarian crap. But I mean, when I was a child, she was like a news anchor. Like I mean, that Magishat Chadashot. So almost all of them and other like people that I mean are into the in broadcast television shows like in talk shows like that. So almost always they have something like that because they need to get like all sort of like information from the director of the show because even live shows have director for all sorts of reasons. I mean, to tell them something like, I mean, okay, cut this, don't speak too much with this person. I mean, we don't have time, and our live rating, Nielsen rating, I mean, shows us that people don't react well to this asshole. So instead, I mean, dedicate what's left, the time that is left until the advertisement break to speak with the big boob blonde that sits like to the left of him. I mean, these kind of like advices, I mean, are presumably are required to be passed between the director and the talk show host. So I mean, it's like that. I mean, but I mean, it's concealed. It's also concealed in television, but not very well because I mean, if people watch it from time to time, it's not like the end of the world. But in the intelligence world, it's concealed that people cannot see it, and they just get the commands. And as I say, I mean, in the worst case, which is also the common case, like the case of the zombies in this apartment, they receive 100% of the screenplay, like of the text. Like if people don't tell them what to say, they just shut up and wait. They cannot speak at all without like the operator because they have 0% brain. This is the worst case, and it's also the common case, the median case or the average case. But it's not always the case. Indeed, sometimes, I mean, up to even 15% of the brain is left when the actor is taxidermied by the Shabak or the Mossad. And then, I mean, they actually have some kind of capability I mean, I would say, auto or automotive, like speech, like I mean, auto, like I mean, autonomic, like autonomic, I mean, they're like, I mean, semi-autonomic vehicles. I mean, they have some. I mean, that the like many vehicles today can like I mean they cannot like really autonomously drive, but I mean they can like they have the ability to correct like the lane. I mean, in case if it's like almost an accident. This is pretty common, even like So they can do it. I mean, so some type of zombies actually can do it. Like I mean, if they see it, I mean the conversation or like goes like about to be like going to be like metaphorically an accident. I mean they can. I mean the last moment they can do like a very small correction like of the lane like So some zombies retain this ability. Again, this depends on how much percentage of the brain is left, which is typically between 0 and no more than 15. Another kind of way to do it is to use alien technology, which I call the bicycle mechanism. It's not the time to discuss it. This is predicated on both the neurons and what you call the T, and also the bicycle, the train bacteria. And yet another way to do it is using what you call in the intelligence services of the world, certainly in Israel, riding, like what to ride the person, which means that I mean, it's like takeover of the person, which is basically it's the same like the two things that what I discussed until now, but it's like it's more, it's like it's even more I would say like in it's in essence, I mean, it's many times people like conceptualize it as like like one person that takes like control, like mental control over another. It's not true. It's not like that, but it's amplification of the theater that is being done using the methods, something that I've described until now, but using and again using the bicycle mechanism, but to a much larger extent. It's like overuse of the bicycle mechanism. And this allows a much tighter control of the person by the operator, and to a point that they don't only share, I mean, words, but they can even share senses. This is a much tighter kind of like, you know, connection between the operator and the zombie. And this is predicated, of course, on the bicycle mechanism and on the T. But I mean, it's another kind. I mean, what actually happened is another kind of like, you know, discussion. But I mean, to our, all of that doesn't really matter in our context. To say, I mean, I place this thing again under the same category of zombies, you know, taxidermies. It's another way to taxidermy a person, which I find disgusting. And in essence, it's not that different. I mean, it's much more sinister and scary, but from my perspective, like, you know, I don't want to be near these people, and it doesn't matter if, like, you know, they are being ridden, like other people are riding them, or it's just, I mean, you know, I would say normal use of the bicycle mechanism, or it's, you know, operators that, I mean, you know, operating you using cochlear chip without any alien technology, or you're just an actor, old school actor that, you know, that, you know, just, I mean, you know, sent to, you know, to put on a show. All cases are, I mean, they're disgusting. Like, I mean, I just, these are the most disgusting people. I mean, personally, these are the most disgusting people that I can think of. Even though, if, from the political perspective, they might not be the most disgusting. Again, you might argue, I mean, you know, their bosses, you know, and their leaders, you know, are more disgusting. Might be the case, perhaps. But I mean, just, I mean, personally, I find these people repulsive. And above all, the idea that, I mean, if such a female would be in any romantic or sexual relationship with me is something abhorrent. Like, I cannot even imagine such a thing happening, even though it happened in the past because I didn't know about it. But now I know how to. This is disgusting. This is actually repulsive beyond any kind of like even like, you know, description. So that will be all for now, and hopefully later we will actually get back to the Game of Thrones series, or maybe to the biology, psychology. I mean, if it's like there are very pressing questions on the matter with regard to the previous videos, the Titan Biology 101 and the Blue Whales videos.